Is it a cinematic sensation? Is it a masterpiece of animation? Or a terrible train wreck like Jambareeqi check? If a movie needs an exorcism, he'll smite the demon with criticism. If it deserves attention, he'll give it a heartfelt mention. A strawberry rating 1 to 5. Jambareeqi reviews.
Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. Incredibles 2, Pixar's newest animated feature, has just reached US theatres. But sadly, I have to wait another month until it hits UK cinemas. Oh well, I guess until then I'll just review the first movie. After the government decides to ban all superheroes from helping the public and fighting crime, the Parr family try their best to fit in with society, but seem to be really struggling. To make things worse, father and husband Bob is going through a midlife crisis, missing the good old days of being Mr. Incredible while being stifled by office work, and he even sneaks out at night with his pal Lucius to be secret superheroes. When a mysterious woman called Mirage offers Bob the chance to save a company from evil robots, he jumps at the chance to don his suit again, and enjoys the high life of being an employed superhero. However, it turns out that he's been working for a supervillain called Syndrome all along, who, as a little boy, offered to become Bob's sidekick Incrediboy, but he turned the boy away. Syndrome has since become a wealthy technology tycoon who has been discreetly killing off superhero citizens, and plans to use his gadgets to become a fake superhero. Meanwhile, Bob's wife Helen becomes suspicious about her husband's whereabouts. She borrows a jet and tries to locate him. It turns out that her kids Violet and Dash have snuck onto the plane though, which will make her rescue mission even more difficult. However, while fighting crime, the kids truly begin to discover their powers, and Helen gets to play superheroine all over again. Now, one of the criticisms made against this film is that even though the movie is called The Incredibles, it mainly centers on Bob's midlife crisis, saving the whole superhero family dynamic for the end of the movie. While I understand this grievance, as I used to feel the same way, I have come to see that it all makes sense in the context of the story. This is a film set in a world where being a superhero is taboo and illegal. It is a bit much to expect the whole family to randomly change their lives and become superheroes again. Heck, most of them don't even have that desire. Helen wants to put her family responsibilities before reliving her superhero days, Violet is ashamed of herself and her family for even having superpowers, Dash's dreams are more grounded in school sports, and Jack is just a baby. These kids don't even know what it's like to be a superhero, they just want to be normal children. Realistically, it's Bob's burning desire to return to being a Cape Crusader at a time when no other jobs can satisfy him that can only trigger a chain of events where everyone must put on suits to fight crime and discover what being superheroes can do for them. While this does mean we have to wait until the finale to see the Incredibles working as a whole family team, at the end of the day, this is an origin story. I'd rather see this film's premise develop organically than impatiently skip ahead to seeing the gimmick of a superhero family playing out. Heck, even before the climax, action is still a prominent aspect of the movie. The action has a lot of energetic momentum, always finding ways to keep our heroes on their toes, but it also lets the characters stumble or struggle, which helps failure seem possible. I also like that director Brad Bird loves to tease us by using stealthy tension to build up to the more physical or explosive moments. Unsurprisingly, the heart of this film is its theme of family. The movie explores how important loved ones are, that we don't need to face our battles alone, and that there are people beside us willing to share our hardships, and we can do the same for them. Yes, the Parrs argue and fight, but that's normal for a family. Deep down, they are ready to protect each other at any cost. Sure, not everyone in the audience will have a conventional family, but I think these values can apply to units outside the nuclear household, like communities of friends or adoptive families. The Incredibles is also a superhero film with a sense of humour. It will find comedy in a variety of ways. From Bob's age getting in the way of him being a cool superhero, to relatable family situations like mum and dad arguing about road directions. The comedy is universal enough to make parents, teens and kids chuckle all at the same time. I'm going to give 5 points to the content. Bob / Mr. Incredible is a man who I can relate to more as an adult than I did as a kid. A guy who was stuck in a dead-end job working for someone in middle management who takes his position too seriously and desires the opportunity to use his true talents to do more for the world. So many grown-ups can resonate with this position in life, it's almost uncanny. But while it is important to find yourself in life because your happiness does matter, it's just as vital to value your loved ones too. In this case, Bob must learn to see the value his family holds and take responsibility for neglecting them all these years. Sometimes the thing that can make you happy is staring right at you. Bob's superpower is heightened strength, but he's not all brawn and no brain. Underneath all those muscles lies a very intelligent man. He'll take advantage of his robot opponent's weaknesses, rely on bones of dead superheroes to hide from Syndrome's track, and can be stealthy when he needs to sneak around for some scenes. Helen / Elastigirl has spent most of her young life being a superheroine with no ambition to stop, but once superheroes are banned, she adapts into a suburban lifestyle quite well. With Bob going through a midlife crisis, Helen is having to take on more tasks than usual, which really fits her power to stretch limbs in many directions. When she finally uncovers Bob's secret mission, she slides back into the role of superheroine so comfortably, like it's not even been 15 years since she wore the suit. It's as if there's no difference between being a mother and a superheroine. She may be a stern, no-falling mama-on wife who can stand her ground with any family member, but when she realizes that her husband has been lying to her, we really feel sad for her, and her pain humanizes her. But at the same time, we can take joy from seeing her being empowered as Elastigirl as she gets to use her stretching powers outside the family home. Syndrome is a great combination of being a tongue-in-cheek comedic antagonist and a serious threat to our heroes. He'll make us laugh with his geeky monologues, but he'll also creep us out a bit in more tense moments. We do also kind of feel sorry for him though, as being turned away coldly by his hero as a child made him into a bitter, complicated man who transformed his promising inventions into technology for evil. But we can still see that he longs to be a superhero deep down, as his plan will help him live out this childhood fantasy. He's a product of Mr. Incredible's poor way of handling an impressionable young fan, and a sign that Bob's stubborn solitude is a danger to those who look up to him or rely on him. In a way, Bob partly created this monster, and that makes this villain a personal reflection of our hero's dark side. Heck, if Bob doesn't become closer to his family, could one of his kids end up becoming the next Syndrome? It's this depth that makes Mr. Incredible a complex hero. Mirage is Syndrome's lover. She uses her sultry appearance to seduce Bob into coming to Syndrome's island. She's a natural at manipulation thanks to her smooth confidence, making her the perfect assistant for a villain. Although, we can tell that she's becoming wary of Syndrome's malicious nature, and even feeling sorry for Bob. When Bob ends up using her as leverage against Syndrome, Syndrome doesn't really mind. This triggers her to switch sides. Sure, we don't learn everything about her, but I think that's the allure of her character. I mean, mirages are meant to create feelings of uncertainty, aren't they? Violet is a young teenage girl struggling to accept her powers. It's her complex feelings about these supernatural gifts that affect her self-confidence, particularly around a boy she likes. Her powers, which include invisibility and a force field, make sense for a defensive, sullen teenager. It's her opportunity to use these powers to fight evil that makes her realize that she's capable of so much, and it's her superheroine experience that empowers her sense of self-worth. You'll notice that throughout the film she pushes her hair back more and more as her confidence grows, a clever nuanced way of showing her coming of age arc. Dash is a very energetic little boy. He's bursting with a need to prove his athletic abilities. But his mum denies this, fearing his powers will give him an unfair advantage over the other kids, an understandable concern considering the values that need to be taught to children at Dash's age. However, it's this repression that triggers Dash to act out in class, which could lead Dash down a dark path. But when Dash becomes a superhero, he can finally see what his powers can do, realizes that they can be used for good, and a huge weight is lifted off of him. He also gets to show his maturity for his age as he helps his family take Down syndrome using his powers, proving that he can control them maturely, which inspires his mum to let him race. Edna Mode is my favourite character in the film, a flamboyant fashion designer who used to make costumes for superheroes before the laws changed. It's the Parr family's adventure that brings Edna back into her A-game, knowing that her clothes are amazing enough to be worn by gods. Her phenomenal confidence and campy personality help her steal the movie for me. Despite being half the size of the people she designs for, she carries an immense sense of self-worth, to the point where she even makes superheroes get weak and flustered around her. She's a passionate and larger-than-life character who serves as a fiery spirit to charge up the superheroes before they go into battle. I love her so much! Jack doesn't get to join his family on their adventure, but he's one super cute baby. He seems to have a multitude of abilities. This not only reflects how babies have unlimited possibilities for what they can become, but it also fits a baby's personality, as babies are very unpredictable and temperamental. Lucius/Frozone is Bob's best friend, having been a superhero back when it was legal. Unlike Bob, he seems very conflicted about becoming a superhero again, expressing both reluctance to relive the memories and nostalgia for the good old days. It makes his dynamic with Bob all the more engaging. While he can get wound up by his pal's drive to be Mr. Incredible again, he is good at keeping his cool, hence why he has ice powers. Rick Dicker is a government agent assigned to make sure that the Parr family superhero identities are kept secret from the public. You can tell that he's exhausted trying to make sure the eccentric superpowered citizens are kept under wraps, making him the perfect straight man in the film, but there's a side to him that does somewhat care about making sure the family is happy. I'm going to give 5 points to the characters. Director Brad Bird stated that he wanted the look of this film to be of an era, yet also timeless. So he imagined a world where the 1960s idea of the future had actually come into fruition. It makes the film superbly classy, but also somewhat nostalgic. The character animation finds this great line between organically realistic and vibrantly cartoony. Characters move and act in believable ways, but they retain the stylistic creativity of the caricatures that inspired them. It's like we're seeing hand-drawn characters being brought to three-dimensional life, right down to how there's no extreme details in the skin. Interestingly, many 2D animators who worked on Bird's The Iron Giant also lent their hands to this film, and they bring the principles of flat animation to the third dimension. I'm also wowed how the animators pull off the superpowers. Mr. Incredible lifts items with impressive strength, but we also get an idea of the object's weight. Elastigirl's stretching looks authentically flexible. Violet's force field looks fantastical yet tangible, and even a little vulnerable too. Plus her invisibility effect works brilliantly because of the natural fabric animation. And Dash's running movements aren't simply sped up, they're animated in a way where you can tell he's running at supersonic motion. Not to mention, Frozone's ice powers look slick and cool, fitting his smooth personality, but the science of his powers are kept in mind at all times too. I'm going to give 5 points to the animation. Craig T. Nelson voices Mr. Incredible/Bob Parr. He sounds genuinely tired of his mundane life, but once his character gets back into his suit, Nelson breathes new life into the superhero.
I'm calling to celebrate a momentous occasion. We are now officially moved in.
Yeah, well, that's great, honey. And the last 3 years don't count because
I finally unpacked the last box. Now it's official. Ha ha ha. Why do we have so much junk?
Listen, honey, I've got to quiet it.
Say no more. Go save the world one policy at a time, honey. Oh, I gotta go pick up the kids from school. See you tonight.
Bye, honey.
Hello, Mr. Incredible. Nice suit.
Thanks. Nice to be back. Mirage.
Holly Hunter plays Elastigirl/Helen Parr. She reads her lines with a mature sternness, but she still brings some vulnerability to the role too.
I can't believe you don't want to go to your own son's graduation.
It's not a graduation. He is moving from the 4th grade to the 5th grade.
It's a ceremony.
It's psychotic. They keep creating new ways to celebrate mediocrity, but if someone is genuinely exceptional,
This is
then
not about you, Bob. This is about Dash.
You want to do something for Dash? Then let him actually compete. Let him go out for sports.
I will not be made the enemy here. You know why we can't do that.
Because it'd be great!
This is not about you! Oh, I'm such an idiot. I let this happen, you know. The new sports car, the getting in shape, the blonde hair, the lies.
Yes, he attempts to relive the past.
Now I'm losing him. Oh, what do I do? What do I do?
What are you talking about?
Jason Lee voices Syndrome. He's really good at selling the geekiness of his character, but also adds some sinister delivery to his more intimidating lines.
You, sir, truly are Mr. Incredible. You know, I was right to idolize you. I always knew you were tough. But tricking the pro by hiding under the bones of another super? Oh, man! I'm still geeking out about it. Shh. The baby's sleeping.
Sarah Powell voices Violet. She has a uniquely nasally voice that definitely fits a sullen, angsty teenager.
So, how about you, Vi? How was school?
Nothing to report.
You've hardly touched your food.
I'm not hungry for meatloaf.
Well, it is leftover night. We have steak, pasta. What are you hungry for?
Tony Ridinger.
Shut up.
But as Violet's confidence grows as a character, so does the energy in Sarah's voice.
Would you,
Yeah?
do you think maybe you and
Yeah?
do you?
No. I like movies. I'll buy the popcorn. Okay?
Movie. There you go. Yeah. Hey, wait. So, Friday?
Friday.
Spencer Fox voices Dash. He brings the right amount of youthfulness to the character, making sure that he sounds adorably enthusiastic rather than obnoxiously hyper.
Hey, Snog. Thanks for getting back. Listen, I know this is short notice, but I was hoping that I could get you
What
to...
are these? Look, I'm the Dash. The Dash likes.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Take that off before somebody sees you.
But you're packing one just like it. Are you hiding something?
Oh, please, honey, I'm on the phone. Dash!
This is yours. It's specially made. What's going on?
You're not coming, and I'm gonna pack!
Elizabeth Pena gives a rich, sizzling voice to Mirage, which goes so well with such a mysterious and seductive character.
I was just wondering, of all the places to settle down, why live...
With a volcano, he's attracted to power. So am I. It's a weakness we share.
Seems a bit unstable.
I prefer to think of it as misunderstood.
Samuel Jackson is his usual badass self as Frozone/Lucius, adding some suave charisma to the ice-powered superhero.
Hey, Lucius!
Hey, Speedo. Hey, Helen. Bye. Jack.
Nice of you to drop by.
Never heard that one before.
Lucius!
Whoa!
Oh, I like it when it chatters.
Director Brad Bird himself actually voices Edna E. Mode. He really nails the role, giving her a bold eccentricity and a scene-stealing personality.
You are Elastigirl! My God, pull yourself together! What will you do? Is this a question? You will show him you remember that he is Mr. Incredible, and you will remind him who you are. Well, you know where he is. Go, confront the problem. Fight. Win! And call me when you get back, darling. I enjoy our visits.
The late but lucky voices Rick Dicker, using his renowned dry voice to sound genuinely tired of looking out for bad-tempered and clumsy superheroes.
How is he?
He'll live.
I'm fired, aren't I?
Oh, you think?
What can I say, Rick?
Nothing you haven't said before.
Someone was in trouble.
Someone's always in trouble.
I had to do something.
Yeah. Every time you say those words, it means a month and a half of trouble for me, Bob. It means hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' dollars.
I know.
We gotta pay to keep the company quiet. We gotta pay damages, erase memories, relocate your family. Every time it gets harder. Money. We can't keep doing this, Bob.
I'm going to give 5 points to the voice acting. This film has a very unconventional score from composer Michael Giacchino. It goes for a brass-heavy jazz orchestral sound. To make it even quirkier, all the instruments were recorded on analog tapes. These creative decisions give the soundtrack a classy vintageness that fits the retro style of the movie. The music is very James Bond influenced, which actually works well with the film's mix of sneaky pacing and high-octane action. Who knew that an espionage-style score could even work for a superhero movie, yet it somehow does? But when you think about it, secret agents and superheroes are not too different. They're both undercover forces assigned to do missions to protect the public. Giacchino's music can sound bombastically over the top for heroic moments, creepily tense when Syndrome wants to be menacing, or sentimentally soft for the tender family scenes. I'm going to give 5 points to the music. To conclude, The Incredibles is a definitive example of a family film done right. There's silly comedy and superhero action for the kids, but also deep emotional subtext about getting older for the adults. Director Brad Bird shakes the Pixar formula up with a mature, human-centric story while staying true to the studio's sense of creativity and humor. It's a classic of both animation cinema and the superhero genre. The Incredibles has gained 25 points, which translates to 5 super strawberries out of 5. If you enjoyed the superhero family side of Sky High and the existentialism of Toy Story 2, I think you will really enjoy The Incredibles. I'd just like to point out that the graphics for this video were produced by Toongrin. If you'd like to request commissions from them, here's their website on screen. I've been Jambareeqi and I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, then feel free to subscribe to my channel because I make a lot of videos on the topic of animated films. Also, please consider supporting me by making a monthly pledge to my Patreon in return for awesome rewards. Thank you. I'd like to give shoutouts to 2 of my newest patrons as well, Jesper Hartwig Brunn and Andrew Norman. You two are incredible. So, what am I going to be reviewing in the next episode of Jambareeqi Reviews? Well, next month things are going to get quite weird with Satellite Girl and Milk Cow, and I mean weird. Cheerio, folks.